And yeah, we weren't going very fast because he wasn't all, his body was not all scraped up, you know, or anything like that. Well, we were just coming out from the stop sign. And,
Now, didn't you let us kids out at that point and tell us to go back to tell the rest of them what had happened?
Yeah, I guess so.
It seemed we must not have been that far from the lake because
Well, quite a ways.
maybe you turned around and went back enough to close enough so that you could drop us all off,
Probably.
so you could continue on with Bart. Because I think we were the ones that told Mom and
Probably.
Emmylou that
Yeah.
he had fallen.
Yeah.
And then he was taken by ambulance to Primary Children's. And was in Primary Children's for a week. Isn't that correct? Before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And during that week, he never really regained any brain activity. Is that correct? Is that right, Dad?
The what?
That during that week, he never regained any consciousness.
That's right. Yeah.
I remember the ward came.
And what they said was that his brain waves, you know, there wasn't much there.
And I understand that there was a little girl that fell
Yeah, there was.
on a horse close to where he fell, and she
Yep.
died at the same time.
Yep.
And that they had been babysat together.
Yeah,
When
they
they
were
were
just
younger.
amazing that so many. It was the same type of injury on the same road at the same time, brought to the same hospital in the same room,
Ambulance.
and they got into final death trouble at the same time.
Wow.
And her name was Lindsay. And
She was the same age?
they were the same age.
Wow. You wonder
They were the same age.
about that.
Like the angel of death had picked two near identical except for sex. One was female and one was male. But otherwise, like,
Wow.
head injury. I think with her, why it was a horse that
Yeah.
she fell off.
I was impressed at that time. I guess I gave my testimony of Relief Society because I was so touched by how many people came and brought meals. You know, the ward was just
Yeah.
unbelievable as
Yeah.
they opened their hearts out and were here. You know, that whole time that he was at primary, and were just totally, you know, supportive.
That's right.
That was my first real experience with, you know, with that. So, okay, well, how about we talk about David?
Well, David had a real good testimony when he was young. In fact, he engineered it so that three people in the 18th ward, pardon me, in the 13th ward rather, decided to go on missions that, if it wasn't for David's influence, why they wouldn't have. So that's really something.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was easy to raise. He was very not moody. He was always happy-go-lucky, I guess is what you'd say. He would just really not give you trouble. And he'd do reasonably well on assignments, on work or chores or whatever. And he had lots of good friends. And he just, during his early life, he was the kind that you could have an awful lot of children like that and be able to raise them without, a whole lot of trouble. But it was just, he had that early belief in the church. Later on, it seemed like it deteriorated, but at least early, he was splendid. And he did a good mission, good credible mission. We went down to Chile to pick him up when he was through with his mission, and went up through Peru and all of those things, and that was real nice. And Patty and everybody else had signs and to welcome him when we were in the airport, and Jeff Holland and Russ Ballard were there. They were pretty impressed with the welcome he got, And I had talked quite a bit with those two who later were both apostles. And they and their wives were going from Miami to Salt Lake, same as we were, on the same plane. So we got acquainted a fair amount. But I knew Russ before because we were both missionaries together, same age and same time over in England. Yeah, but Dave's we of course introduced him to those two also, and he was happy there. Yeah.
I know David's pretty artistic.
I spoke of it in my history about when he got in that swift ditch, that concrete ditch, and when he was yelling going down, I was running as fast as I could to try to catch up with him. But when I caught up with him, somebody put a great big rock in the stream, and he was pushed up against that rock, and I grabbed him and pulled him out. I'm not sure quite how old he was, but not very old. No, maybe 5 or something, but maybe less. But and he had another experience that nearly killed him. The people right next door, Erickson's, they had a young boy.
Vern, I think. Well, Vern was the dad, but I thought that was the teenage son's name.
Yeah, and Dave was on a tricycle, and this kid pulled out and stopped just as the car was just ready to go over.
Burl Erickson.
The tire just before he went over his head. Stopped just as his car was trying to climb over David's head. that was not too good of a deal, and a couple of close ones there for Dave, but between the ditch, you know, and it went underneath in a culvert underneath the road there a little ways down, and he might have gone underneath there and drowned under there, and he very well could have crushed his head underneath the automobile tire too. So he had a couple of kind of close calls there at that time. But as I say, he had a good testimony early because he influenced those 3 kids to go on missions there that wouldn't have gone if Geordie Hale was one of them. If they, David.
Scott Christensen.
Yeah, Christensen was another. There was 3 of them.
And
So David did a job there, all right.
I was just going to show what David drew too. He's very, very artistic. This is for the golden anniversary. This is what he put together and he drew
Yeah.
these drawings of
He was a good artist. He was a good artist.
mom and dad younger, mom and dad older.
Yeah, Dave,
Hey, Dad,
we
how
gotta go
about
up to Tony's.
tell us about our Burton, Ronnie, as we knew him when he was little.
well, he had a little rebelliousness sometimes. I remember one time when I kind of got really irritated with him. More than that, I guess. Yeah. I guess more than any of the others, why, he got my ire up sometimes. But he just had to know how things worked. We don't have any other kid, and there's not many kids that just can go and take over and do a job, whether it's like, you know, building the
Pond?
well, yeah, the pond, or the what do they call them,
Aquariums, terrariums.
yeah, or those things in the attic up in Idaho. You build a whole bunch of what do we call them?
Oh, those things with windows?
Like the window, yeah. What do
Oh yeah, you mean on his present home. Dormer windows and
yeah, all of that kind of thing. But without anybody, without him reading extensively either, why he just has a knack for knowing what to do and how to go about doing it, and
well, he gets a lot of his education by listening to books.
mhm. Yeah, he's definitely a leader and a doer. My dad was that way quite a little bit. I was always amazed how my dad was able to do things. I normally would do quite a little bit of studying in that.
As he talked about his wrestling.
And I never was really handy, adept like that, but R.B. and my dad both were. I said maybe in that way anyway, why my dad would be happy to know R.B. a little better. Um,
He was also very athletic.
yeah, he sure was.
I guess is.
When they went to Layton, there was 8 schools, and he was the outstanding wrestler of all 8 whole schools. That was the high point, I think, of his wrestling. I think that was his high point. The outstanding wrestler of the whole meet. He just would handle anybody that went on the ring with him, and just handle them rapidly and with finesse. He was a good one. Very went to state. Why, his mental attitude wasn't just too good, and he ended up by taking 4th, in his weight class. We should have taken 2nd or maybe even 1st in the state.
Still,
Yeah.
wow. Well, I need to ask you 2 other questions, and then I think you're going to be going to visit Tony. One is a question that comes from Burton, and he says, "What's your favorite thing?" I asked each of my siblings to come up with a question for you, so that's his. What's your favorite thing?
Whose question is this?
Burton's.
Oh, favorite thing.
I know. I said, "What do you mean by thing?" And he says, "What's your favorite thing to do?"
Oh.
What's your favorite pastime?
Listen to testimony building things that
Listen to testimony building stories and experiences and things.
from people that are highly knowledgeable and are very much, have just tremendously firm testimonies. The 2 in question, the 3 in question, and that's why I wrote in my book, was 3 magnificent men I have known. My dad, Dr. Melvin A. Cook, and Dr. Hugh Nimbley. And my favorite thing would be to listen to all 3 of them and understand the marvelous things that they knew,
That's a good answer. Oh, the last question. I called Leah and David, and they said they'd think about it and get back with me. I didn't hear back from them. So my question is, having gone through the many trials and challenges
your question is what?
Having gone through the many challenges and trials that you have in your life, and you and Mom have, then what would you say is your advice or your suggestions as to how to get through them? Your piece of advice or sayings or whatever.
Well, I've really never had any very credible ideas of committing suicide, or not getting through them. I guess you have to do what you have to do.
Are there any special
even
scriptures?
Even though in some cases it's not very pleasant,
But are there any scriptures or sayings or something that really have helped you during times of trial? Or techniques or whatever?
Well, I like poetry, and I think I get inspired by it something too, as well as scriptures, you know. And
Okay.
there's maybe some insights in poetry that would relate some.
Sounds like David took after you. He likes poetry too.
Who?
David, your son.
Oh, does he, son?
He writes it too. Well, Dad, is there anything else that you'd like to look at the camera and say to your posterity on this disc thing?
Well, I think that my testimony is firm, really firm, and I think that it's backed up by a tremendous number of experiences of myself and many, many other people. And so I would hope that people would maintain their testimonies of the church and of our Heavenly Father and our Savior, so that these things can be for their long-term benefit in heavenly worlds. I'm convinced that the basic teachings that were given in the church are accurate, and we have been given so much as compared to most people that have been given substantially less, that we certainly have reason to be thankful, to be especially thankful, because of people like the ones I mentioned.
Well, thank you, Dad, very much for spending this time with us today.
You're very welcome.
Okay, well, we love you. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.